players left. Pulls up, looking for the lead, and he got it. JWill, 2 seconds, 1:11.109. Out, SGA, probing, piercing, spinning, hanging for the lead, and SGA knocks it down. The Thunder finally get the defensive stop, and SGA puts them in front.
I'm Caruso Williams. You're listening to Topic Thunder.
And welcome back, everybody, to another edition of the Top of Thunder podcast. I'm sorry, you probably can't even see me. I don't have my light on here. Boom. Now you can see me a little bit better. Yeah, welcome back to another edition of the Top of Thunder podcast. I'm your host, Dylan Huntsinger at Thunder Chats, where you're part of the Believe Network. And this podcast is brought to you by Bet Online. Just kidding. It is brought by FanDuel. It is brought to you by FanDuel. Listen, I was typing. I'm having technical difficulties here. I just saw that it wasn't showing the thumbnail on YouTube, so freaking out a little bit. It's all good. We're rocking. You know, the Thunder, just like the Thunder, they went through some bumps, and you know they're still walking out victorious in the last game. So I'm gonna be done rambling here. I've got my co-host, my compatriot Alex Roy. Go ahead, Alex.
I'm good, man. I'm ready for rivalry week. I'm ready for that great rivalry against the Milwaukee Bucks. Yeah, just ready for that. Yeah, the biggest thing from the Milwaukee Bucks rivalry that I remember is, I guess, their cup victory and then the game where Giannis stepped out of bounds. Yep, that's about it. When Josh Houston was still playing for us. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then he dunked on Westbrook for, the game winner. But, it's all good. They can They can push whatever rivalry they want to, as we've seen. They like pushing rivalries on us. We're the champs, so every team looks at us as their rival. So, absolutely. I'm trying to turn this light down. Nope, that's not what I'm looking. Oh my god! I swear, man. This is good. This is good podcasting right here. I know, right? That's fine. Y'all are just gonna. We're showing you the behind the scenes, baby. We're just bright today, boys. But yeah, Alex. As I mentioned, It's been a little bit of a rough go here for the Thunder here as of late, in a few ways other than, just on the court production. Yeah. They've actually haven't looked bad the past couple weeks. They was on a little bit of a winning streak. They lost to the Heat on Sunday, just barely by I think 2 points. And it was a game, as I was talking to you before the podcast, the Bam Adebayo. I don't have the stats in front of me. I should actually pull 28, 29 points. Yeah, he had something absurd. But he had 4 or 5 threes, right? He had 6 threes. 6 threes, there you go. And then the next night, or not the next night, the next game, he had 4 points on 1 of 13 shooting. And it's of course he did. Of course he did. Players just blow their loads against us. That's about it. All right. Yep. There you go. And here we are on Top of Thunder podcast. But yeah, the biggest frustrating thing, we can talk about frustrations, of that game because there was a couple, but one of the most frustrating things for Thunder fans is the big news that Jalen Williams, you could see in the play, cooking, by the way, in the first quarter. I think he had 8 points, 2 rebounds, 2 assists, very quickly, and he was getting to his spots, getting to the lane. Really felt like it was going to be a really good game for Dub, kind of building off the performances that he's had. But he came up gimp on one of the drives, and there was a picture of him just kind of standing, unsure what to do, unsure if he could put weight on it. Mm-hmm. And eventually, he did walk off on his own power. People walking next to him, but it has now come out that he has a hamstring strain and he is out indefinitely. And then I think it came out today that said he's going to be reevaluated in a couple weeks. Is that right? Yeah, a couple weeks. Yes. We usually think about that as 2 weeks, but could be a little bit longer. It doesn't look like the type of injury that's going to be, he's going to be back in 2 games, 3 games. No, it's going to take a month or 2 probably for this injury to kind of work itself out. Yeah, and I saw a bunch of people tap dancing on the Thunder's grave prematurely about Dub being injured again, and it's hey, I think we're 19-1 without Jalen Williams in the past 2 seasons. So I think we'll be okay. But 2 out indefinitely means just that. They don't have a timeline. That doesn't mean that he's going to be out the rest of the year or anything like that.
Like it could be a couple weeks, it could be like 6 weeks. Like, nobody actually knows like the actual timeline. So like before people start freaking out, like let's let more information come out. And, since then, like I said, the reevaluation of a couple weeks, that was the news that dropped today. So that feels more, kind of concrete. So like you were saying, like if his reevaluation's in a couple weeks, I feel like he'll probably be back in a month or so. I think Cohen even said, I don't know if he said it on Twitter. I know he said it to us like in the group chat, but he predicts that he'll kind of be back after All-Star break. But at the same time, we predicted the same thing with Chet Holmgren last year, and that he actually came back like before the All-Star break. So, we'll see how the Thunder want to play it. As I said, we've been able to win without Jalen Williams. That's not downplaying, his role in, the dominance of this team or anything like that. That's just stating the facts. Like, 19-1, without Jalen Williams in the lineup, that's a testament to Shea stepping up. It's a testament to Chet, taking more of an offensive role. And, we'll talk about his performance against the Cavs after that. And also other guys on the bench stepping up. So the Thunder have the luxury of being able to be patient with Dub, making sure that that hamstring is fully healthy, because we've seen what hamstring strains, what calf strains, like what these can turn into. They could turn into more problematic injuries, but also a little bit more time for that wrist to kind of heal up as well.
And let's not get too far ahead of ourselves. Like the Thunder have been here before. They were here last year. It's just the player that was injured last year was Chet, and Dub stepped up. And so this year's an opportunity for, Dub's been out for most of the year. He had the wrist surgery for the first 19 games. And then after that, he's going to be out for a little bit more. And so Chet needs to step up. He has been stepping up. And I see a lot of the same things that happened to J-Dub last year possibly happening to Chet this year. Whereas, Chet looks like he's on the track to win Depoy if he continues how he's playing right now. And if, Hartenstein, stays out for a little bit longer. If he stays out for a little bit and it's Chet at the 5, then you're going to get those multi-block games that he's setting up here lately. He's probably going to, more than likely going to be a first-time All-Star this year. And if he continues on this trajectory, I have no doubt that he could be like a third-team All-NBA player. Like if you have another 67, 68 win season, that kind of sets you up to need two players on the All-NBA teams, one of the 3 teams. And so you're going to have a player that's going to be number 1, probably Depoy, number 2, definitely going to be, on first team all defense. And so when you have that resume, more than likely you're going to be an All-NBA type player. And so, we've been here before. We won a championship with this type of formula. And what we just need now is for Dub to come back completely healthy. We don't want an Aaron Gordon situation kind of creeping up on us where in the playoffs that hamstring pops again and you're definitely out, he's definitely out for the rest of the playoffs type thing. And so you want that thing to heal completely. Same thing with Hartenstein. You want that calf to heal completely before they even step back on the court. So we have time. We have built a little cushion in case injuries like this happen. And, we're a couple games up on Detroit, couple games up, like 6.5 games up on the Spurs, 4.5 games up on Detroit, I think. And so we have a nice little cushion. We do play easier teams coming up here after this, this little barrage of teams that we've had on the road. And so I think we take this time to kind of pad our record. And just kind of stay ahead and stay healthy and hopefully be completely healthy by the time the playoffs roll around. But again, it's silver lining when it comes to this. Like you said, it allows Dub to kind of heal his wrist, stretch it out, get further, range of motion on the wrist, and then hopefully comes back completely healthy. Again, the rhythm thing is going to be something that he's going to have to build again. But if you give it enough time, I don't see any reason why he shouldn't be able to build that rhythm back up before the playoffs.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And, like I said, the big positive, obviously, like for Dub is he gets to rest, he gets a chance to get 100%. But, kind of like leading into really the Cavs game, like is like the main game that I wanted to talk about because, I mean, the Heat game, we lost. There were some frustrating things that happened in that game, especially given the circumstances. But, if you're looking at the game yesterday, this was the first like full game without Dub. Obviously, we didn't have him for much of the Heat game, but the game plan involved having Jalen Williams on the floor. And, it was harder to adjust off of that. But looking at the Cavs game, like there was multiple people that stepped up, like and carried the load both offensively and defensively. So just kind of transitioning into that point, let's talk about the Cavs game, man. Like this was, first of all, it was really cool to have the Thunder like play it like, well, for me, it was 2:30 in the afternoon. I guess it was 1:30 for you guys, but really cool to have Thunder basketball on to watch during the day. So I always enjoy watching basketball Martin Luther King Day. It's been a bit since the Thunder have been on there. I think it was like 2023, 2024, something like that.
I think they played on it last year.
Was it last year they played on it? Okay.
So, yeah.
I don't remember if I got to watch it or not, but yeah, either way, like it was fun to get to watch it, during the day. I tweeted out, I got all my things done at work that I needed to get done. That way I could like veg out on Thunder basketball for like the last hour or so. Yeah. But yeah, man, obviously national television against the Cleveland Cavaliers. This is a team that was the number one seed in the East last year. Obviously they've gone through their struggles. Mm-hmm. They were shorthanded with Darius Garland. I think we were more shorthanded with Isaiah Hartenstein, Jalen Williams, to name a couple. But it started out looking like it was going to be a little bit closer of a game. Like you could really see like the Cavs, kind of flexing their muscles of like, who they've been in the Eastern Conference. Mitchell got off to a hot start, fizzled out very quickly. And you could kind of see some of the remnants of the game that the Cavs did beat us in last year with the Mobley, Jarrett Allen two-man game, just kind of picking us apart. And again, we didn't have two bigs on the floor in that game either because Chet was obviously out, and I think Ihart was even out for that game. Obviously, Chet was out there today in that game. Jalen Williams started. Big JWill got the start, but it didn't last very long. He got 2 quick threes, had 6 points like very early on, but Jarrett Allen tried to end Jarrett Allen's life on a poster tip. And to his credit, Jarrett Allen blocked the shot, and Jalen Williams went careening to the floor, and he got up kind of slow, gingerly made his way back to the bench, and then eventually made his way back to the locker room. He was eventually ruled out. I don't know what he was actually –
lower back contusion.
It was lower back. Okay, yeah. So the injury report now for tomorrow's game against the Bucks says that it is a left glute contusion.
Fell on his butt, man.
Yeah, he's literally butt hurt. So,
and I think kind of embarrassing. He was probably a little bit butt hurt. Like, you go for a jam like that and you get completely like Sprite Anthony Edward, just like stopped at the rim and just fall on the ground. I mean, he fell on his butt. I thought more. I was more worried about like concussion protocol. Like I thought he might have hit his head. On the way down, like the way his neck kind of went back. But yeah, man, little butt. He landed on his butt. Probably landed hard. Got a little bruising right there. He's questionable for tomorrow as far as the injury report goes. So I think it was a lot more of his pride than maybe his actual body that got hurt.
Yeah. I mean, it's the second consecutive game that in the first quarter the Thunder have a guy named Jalen Williams go out for the rest of the game. So,
no. Thankfully, we don't have any
more of those. So.
We don't have Jalen Williams from Auburn on this team, so we're good.
But it wouldn't be the only person that leaves the game due to injury. Alex Caruso, who kind of struggled shooting the ball in this game, which you don't really even realize because his injury and just like his activity. But he was 0 of 5 shooting, 0 of 4 from deep. But he actually stepped on Lu Dort's ankle trying to navigate around a screen, and he again fell to the ground, kind of grimaced over to the bench, made his way back to the locker room, never made it back into the game. And he's listed with a right adductor strain, which.
Groin.
You don't. I feel like I haven't heard adductor like at all until this year, and it feels like everybody's got an adductor strain.
Well, it feels like what happened to just like the groin?
Yeah,
or what happened to, I don't know, like you just hear adductor strain now. You don't hear groin. Like I don't know if they're trying to get real technical as far as like the groin is made out of multiple muscle groups, and so you have an adductor, more than likely you have an abductor. And so it may be the one that when you put your leg out to the side, it hurts as opposed to the one that brings it in or something like that. But it's just weird that you just don't go call it a groin anymore. Maybe they're trying to make it more technical, more scientific, and not, fifth grade humor or something like that.
Yeah, it looks like it's just specificities. Yeah, I don't know. That was rough for me for some reason. But quick Google says the groin muscles are a group of 5 muscles called adductors. So I guess you're just like specifying that it's more than the groin. It's part of the groin, I guess. So I don't know the significance, but anyways, so here we are again. The Thunder just getting crippled with injuries. It's not enough that Topic, was diagnosed with cancer earlier in the year, and
Sorber was out with an ACL before he even could have his rookie season.
Well, Sorber was recovering from a foot injury, and then he got an ACL injury, even like to the point where he couldn't play in summer league before he had the ACL injury. So yeah, that happened. And yeah, now everything with Jalen Williams' wrist, and it felt like we was finally getting healthy. We lost Ihart. Now we lost Jalen Williams again, the other Jalen Williams, and Caruso. Like I think who was it? Peacock? Yeah, that's who was on the broadcast yesterday. They said that the Thunder actually have, in terms of like games missed due to injury, they're actually second in the league behind only the Los Angeles Clippers, which ironic that 2 teams directly tied to the Thunder in terms of like draft pick compensation and whatnot, both have had so many injuries. But
and with that said, when it comes to the Clippers injuries, they count the Chris Paul sit down in that, and so the Thunder could actually be the number 1 team as far as like injured bodies, in games missed, because that Chris Paul thing. He's not injured. He's just away from the team because
they just sent him home.
Exactly, yeah.
They pulled the Al Horford on him like when we did in that second half of the season. But yeah, no, been very unfortunate. But as we saw last year, the Thunder weren't the healthiest team in the league last year either. And guys just continue to step up, and specifically Shea carried the load in a huge way. And that was kind of the case again against Cleveland. Shea ended up with his casual 30 points. He had 1 rebound, 3 assists, 1 steal, 2 blocks. Was 12 to 20 shooting.
That block on Jared Allen.
Oh yeah,
he's done that twice already.
Oh
he
yeah,
did Jared Allen. He did Wembanyama.
And I'm definitely pulling that up because I have it somewhere on here. But yeah, there was a sequence of which Shea got like a mid-range jumper, and then went down the other end. Yeah, it was a 16 seconds. Okay.
Yep.
Here, I actually have – so I don't have the mid-range jumper, but I have the block that came after the mid-range jumper. Like, snatch blocking a 7-foot center.
And then Dean Wade, get out of my way. Boom.
And then just big body and D-Wade. Like, here, I'll give you the ball back. Like, this is nuts, man. Like, and I put out a tweet that people thought was controversial, but I stand by it. Like, there's not another guard in the league that is going to snatch block a center and then go down coast to coast and give, I said anyone a bucket. Like, people are just like focusing on the give somebody a bucket. I said give anyone a bucket. Like, it doesn't matter who's in front of him. Like, he was taking on all comers yesterday. He was getting it done in the mid range. He was getting into the paint. He was getting to the rim. He even hit a pretty big 3 there, like early in the game. Like, Shea had it clicking on all cylinders, and he wasn't by himself. We talk about guys stepping up. We talk about somebody, really carrying the load offensively, and somebody that we've been calling for the past 2 seasons to like stay in that mode, continue being aggressive. And man, Chet Holmgren came to play yesterday. 28 points, 8 rebounds, 2 assists, 2 blocks, 11 to 16 shooting 4 or 5 from 3. And yeah, like you were saying, completely just absolutely taking it to the reigning defensive player of the year, Evan Mobley, multiple times in this game.
Complete domination. Like, it's basically, everybody looks at Wemby versus Chet. And here's the thing. I can comfortably look at Wemby and be like, nah, Wemby's a tier above Chet. Let's just be completely 100% honest. I know people don't want to hear that, especially if you're listening to this podcast, but Wemby's on another tier. Wemby's going to be an MVP candidate here for the next, decade, DPOY candidate for the next decade, but if you go down to that next tier, you're talking about Chet, you're talking about Evan Mobley, you're talking about, I believe those are probably the only 2 players in that category right there. And then you start to get down to maybe the, I don't know, Walker Kessler, Donovan Clingan, those types of, Jared Allen, those types of centers. But yeah, man, he dominated him. He had him looking scared. He had him looking around for, Evan Mobley was looking around for Chet. And he just dominated him, man. And then Chet, he used the 3-point shot to be able to get other shots. So there were fakes and dribble drives to the basket that Chet had that ended up in dunks. There were the 3-point baskets. I believe he was 4 or 5 yesterday.
4 or 5. Yep.
Yeah. 4 or 5. That's you have a 7-footer that's doing that, and you have an offense that is clicking the way it was yesterday. It's almost unstoppable. It's almost unstoppable if you get into that kind of, that kind of zone, that kind of, able to read and react. Look at that. You look like Dirk right there, man.
Yeah. And I mean, he just continues to play with force. I don't know if something clicked in his head after the Christmas Day game against the Spurs, but ever since then, man, we've been begging for aggressive Chet. He's been aggressive. In that span, he's blocked more shots than anybody else in the league. I think he's up there with the most dunks in the league in that time as well. And we talk about what he's doing to Evan Mobley and Jared Allen too. Jared Allen's not defensive player of the year, but he's a good defender in his own right. He's pulling threes on him. He's getting going in transition.
Look at that. That's beautiful. That was beautiful right there.
Oh yeah, breaking up the alley-oop, that's his trademark.
But breaking up the alley-oop, those are plays that Giannis and Wemby make, and that's it. Those are the only 2 players that can actually do those types. Yeah, and Shea. Yeah. But those are the only 2 players that consistently do those types of plays. And so if you had Chet doing those types of plays also, plus giving you what he gave you on the offensive end, it's curtains.
Yeah, and I gotta turn it down. And here's the other one right here I was trying to look for. So I think it's after this 3 here. So he gets matched up with a Coro, and
there you go, right there. Whoop.
Blows by him and uses his physicality to get the dunk.
Yep.
That's something that teams try to do. Teams try to put a smaller guy on Chet, a smaller guy in terms of height. Okoro is a big dude. He's built good. So theoretically, he can stay in front of Chet. He's quick enough and strong enough to stay in front of Chet and, kind of be a matchup problem for him. Chet just used his quickness, used his length, get the first step around him, and then, even though he was able to meet him at the rim, Chet was able to still use his physicality and get up and get a bucket. So very pleased with the game from Chet. We absolutely needed that. And this is something that, obviously we made this big long spiel on the Friday podcast, Me Don't Want to Cone, about why Chet deserves to be an all-star because, Bill Simmons had him left off the ballot. And I listen to Bill Simmons for entertainment value. I don't think what he says is the end-all be-all, by any stretch of the imagination. But if you listen to a lot of basketball podcasts, many people feel like Chet Holmgren will be an all-star and deserves to be an all-star. If not for nothing else, he's been the second best player on the best team in the league, and that grants you that title. But his numbers are not numbers of a slouch. He's averaging almost 19 points a game, almost 9 rebounds a game, averaging, I think, over 2 blocks a game. And right now he's the favorite for defensive player of the year. And if he's able to string together more performances like this, down, through the stretch of the season with no iHeart, with no Jalen Williams, no other Jalen Williams, if he's able to take this opportunity and really use it as a as like a shooting off point in terms of like his development. So that way, when those guys still come back, we still get this version of Chet. Then yeah, all NBA is a lock in this year. And I was actually looking, make the point, obviously, like right now his stats aren't like anything mind blowing, but if you look at Ivica Zubac last year, like I think he was averaging a double-double. He was rebounding more, but his scoring was lower than Chet was this year. But Zach Lowe was making a case for him to be a third-team All-NBA guy last season. And if Zubac, who was on a much worse team, averaging, worse around the same stats, like if you're putting like the whole PRA together, it's pretty close. But if you're advocating for him to make third-team All-NBA, like Chet definitely has a case. So I look forward to seeing him continue this trajectory, for the rest of the season, because like I said, this isn't just because Jalen Williams got hurt and because iHeart's been out. Like this feels like intentional from Chet and the Thunder since that third matchup against the San Antonio Spurs on Christmas Day. Feels like we've gotten a different Chet ever since then.
Yeah, most definitely. It may have looked ugly for those first three Spurs games, but if that's the spark that needed to be, lit in order to get this Chet, that is not, because the thing is, like before that, Chet would have he'd have a bad game and he'd kind of disappear. He'd kind of get lost in the sauce of the offense and just wouldn't necessarily be aggressive as far as looking for his shot and looking for ways to impact the game in other ways other than just scoring. Like he has been rebounding extremely well here over the past month. Offensive rebounding, he's been grabbing those. He's been, doing a lot more putback dunks. And so I think he's raised up his level of aggressivity when it comes to playing on the offensive end. I've used it a couple times here lately, but let's just roll with it. But yeah, he's raised his level of aggressivity, and he's not being as, just muted as he usually does to himself sometimes when he gets down on himself. And so that's the mindset that you have to take from here on out, man. You're going to have bad games sometimes, and sometimes in those bad games, you have to just keep on shooting or keep on working to get to a point where you find your rhythm in the game, and it works out. Shea does that all the time. Dub did that in the Memphis game, where he just, eventually found his rhythm, got going towards the basket instead of shooting the 3-pointers. And so, he has to learn how to do that. And I think as a center, sometimes you aren't necessarily raised up in the game to be like that. Like you don't have that guard mentality when you're a center. And so it's something that I think that he's had to learn as he's progressed and as he's, in these first 3 to 4 years of his career, he's kind of had to learn, that type of, of intentionality towards offense and intentionality towards, getting going and things like that.
Yeah, no, absolutely. That's something I really look forward to tracking the rest of the season. But moving on to the next guy that stepped up, and it feels like you can just pencil this guy in for showing up against the Cleveland Cavaliers on the offensive and defensive end. Lou Dort had, his best game of the season. Like,
yep, 100%.
It's got to be. Like he had 18 points, 6 of 7 shooting, hit 5 of 6 from deep, had 5 rebounds, 3 assists, 1 steal. And as he does every time, shut Donovan Mitchell down. I mentioned
frustrated
Donovan Mitchell.
Him.
Yeah, I mentioned Donovan Mitchell. Like looked like he had it going early on. He had 4 points early, and then I think they thought he had an M1, but then Mark Daignault actually called a challenge and got the point taken away. And it felt like after that point, what was almost 7 points for Mitchell turned into like a drought. Like he did not score. I don't think again, or maybe one more time until like the fourth quarter. And the fourth quarter, I think he actually has the most fourth quarter points in the season this year. And that's just due to the Cavs kind of struggling a little bit this year in terms of, needing that extra push and, needing their guys to play into the fourth quarter like that. But he finished with 19 points, 5 of 18 shooting, 1 of 9 from deep. That's all Lou Dort, man. Like Lou Dort has historically done a great job against Donovan Mitchell. I was actually looking at like their matchup stats on Data Baller the other day, and I've got to find it because they hadn't updated it with the current game stats, obviously, because it was still going on. But they had the shot chart up, and it was crazy. As I'm trying to pull that up, bro, stop! I keep trying to throw up clips, and I'm like, I don't need that in my ear right now.
Man, but I mean, kind of like just building off of what you said, like Donovan Mitchell's the type of player that Lou Dort was built to guard. Like it's very difficult for him to guard players like say a Tyrese Maxey, players that have a little bit more shake to their game and are, a little bit quicker. That's where you have Kaysen come in, and that's where Kaysen kind of shines on those types of players. But somebody like a Luka, somebody like an oversized point guard, that is the type of player that Lou Dort is designed to guard against, and Donovan Mitchell falls into that category. And he frustrates him, man, because he is able to play physical because Donovan Mitchell plays a physical brand of offensive basketball. Same with Luka, same with, Anthony Edwards, those types of players. And so Lou Dort in those types of games completely shines because those matchups are made for him. Have you found those
yes. Stats? So I have the shot chart of Donovan Mitchell when guarded by Lou Dort since 2020. So this is since Lou Dort's been in the league. They've matched up a lot. On 72 field goals made, he has a 32.6 effective field goal percentage against him. All these blue dots are misses.
Wow.
It's actually nuts, man.
Wow, that's crazy, man.
Yeah, so shout out Lou Dort. Obviously he hasn't had the best year. He hasn't had his traditional Lou Dort year as on potato quality again. Love it. But as I said, played his best game of the season against the Cleveland Cavaliers. Even though they have had their struggles this season, still a very formidable team in the East, and stepping up when we needed the most with all of our injuries. So, to quote Jerry Stevens, "Love you, Lou. Hope you're doing well."
Yeah, man, and whenever Lou gives this to us on the offensive end, that's the ultimate cherry on top, man. That is when you're shooting 5 of 6, teams other teams' defenses are geared towards making sure that Lou Dort is the one shooting that shot. If Lou Dort is the one shooting while Shai Gilgeous-Alexander and Chet Holmgren and AJ Mitchell on the floor and it's Lou Dort shooting it, then the defense for the most part has won. But whenever he's shooting like this and he's hitting 5 or 6 from deep, he hit his little patented, it seems like every game midi where he just gets into the teeth of the defense, does a little shimmy, turns around and shoots it. That's becoming 100%, as far as him hitting that. But yeah, man, if he gives you that on offense and he's able to take your best offensive player off the chessboard, it's a reason why the Thunder won by 30, in that game. Here's the thing, and this is what we've always said when it comes to this team. This team defensively, they're going to do their thing. But if offensively, they shoot over 40% from 3, that's a 20 to 30 point victory easily.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And, we actually shot, I just looked it up, the 48.9% from 3 that we shot against the Cavs was a season high in terms of three-point shooting.
Totally sustainable.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's just do that every game. That's why I think. But no, it wasn't just Lou in terms of the shooting and impact and stepping up. Isaiah Joe, which is a guy that has been, again, kind of hot and cold this year, started off blazing hot. Really cooled down, caught some DMPs, had some irregular minutes. Feels like that's starting to trend back up here recently in the last week or two. And you've kind of seen him catch a rhythm off of that here, in the past couple weeks too. So just building off that, yesterday had 16 points, 6 of 9 shooting, 4 of 7 from deep, 5 rebounds, 2 assists, 1 steal. Like I said, man, Isaiah Joe just does stuff. Whenever he's in there, he's making an impact. He's not just a 3-point shooter. He's a guy that
No.
He's going to give you gravity off movement. He's the guy that's going to crash the glass. He's the guy that's going to draw an offensive foul like he did again in this game. He gives you so much more than 3-point shooting. Getting to the line, going, getting into the paint, getting to the rim. Like he can do it all, man. He's like a jack of all trades player, but a jack of all trades player that is an elite 3-point shooter. And he is, like I said, it's kind of been trending up here recently. And I think that's why our 3-point shooting has been better in the past couple of weeks as well, because the utilization of Isaiah Joe and also him kind of shaking out of that funk that he had for about a month and a half. So shout out Isaiah Joe, man. Like the moon ball was there. The moon ball absolutely haunted the Cavs, and it was great.
Yeah, he had one play where he started off on one end of the floor and gave it up and went through a bunch of screens and ended up in the corner and got found in the corner and hit a three. Like that is the type of movement that we need. And that's the type of movement that, leaves defenses shaking in their boots, especially if you have Shai Gilgeous-Alexander out there. If you have SGA out there with that, there's nothing you can do. Like if he's hitting, if Isaiah Joe is movement shooting and he's hitting, and then you have SGA out there, like that is nightmare fuel for our defense. And so you love to see that. And I told you, one of the things that I said, this stretch is going to be difficult because we don't have multiple days off. We don't have multiple days off, but one of the benefits of having, playing games, a lot of games, consecutively like this is that you develop a rhythm. And if you develop an offensive rhythm, then, it's great. It makes games a lot easier. It makes games, a lot better as far as the flow. And so that's what you're seeing with guys like Isaiah Joe, guys like Aaron Wiggins. You're seeing those guys start to kind of, get back to a peak offensively. And if that starts to happen, the shots start to fall, it makes the game a lot easier than if they aren't falling.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And, it's kind of a crucial time for, Isaiah Joe, Aaron Wiggins, Lou Dort, like these guys to be stepping up in these moments because, and we'll talk about it here in a little bit, but the trade deadline's next week. Like, this is a big time for these guys. Obviously, there's been rumors about the Thunder, if they're going to do anything or not. There's think pieces by the fan base about, if they should or should not. We have our own opinions about that. And, maybe the injury changes things. Like, who knows? I don't think anybody knows what Sam Presti's thinking. But Isaiah Joe, in the last 5 games, has shot over 50% from 3 in every game. And I wonder in those last 5 games what his full percentage is. I'm trying to pull that up. On the year, he's shooting 41.8%, which I believe is a career high. Also, so that is awesome to see. Let me see here. So these last 5 games, he's shooting 60% from 3. So
damn.
Yeah, he's been blazing. He's absolutely been blazing.
Yeah.
And the other guy that I was talking about, he's just the savior of basketball. Aaron Wiggins stepping up in a huge way, not only on offense. We know that Aaron Wiggins can step up on offense when we need him to. 16 points, 4-7 shooting, 2 of 5 from 3, 6 rebounds, 3 assists. This man had 6 stocks on defense, Alex.
He had 5 steals, man. That's crazy.
And Aaron Wiggins is a guy that, he's got the body. He's got the body style. He's got the want to be a good defender. But especially last season, it felt like his defense really fell off a cliff. This year's kind of been in the mixed bag. It was a good bag, against the Cavs yesterday. He was all over the place, using his length, using his physicality, anticipation, jumping the passing lanes. Just really impressed from Aaron Wiggins. And he's another guy who's really had a good last 5 games. I'm going to pull up his stats real quick while you talk about him if you want to.
No, man, good thing about him is that he's been a solid fill-in for a starter, which is what we've needed through this entire season. But, through these last 10 to 12 games, with Hartenstein out, with, Kaysen kind of struggling a little bit as far as his offensive game and his decision-making out there on the floor. Having the even-keeled, ness of just being able to put Aaron Wiggins out there and know that he's going to just play Thunder basketball and, give you spacing on offense and give you just enough on defense to not, break anything. It's a benefit to have, and it's just good that he's starting to kind of find his rhythm also. And he did the same thing last year. Like last year around this time. And again, like I said, when players are allowed to play games consistently and consecutively and they're allowed to play like with, little days off as possible, like you start to develop a rhythm. Yeah, you get tired, but you also develop a rhythm in that time. And I think Aaron Wiggins is this is the spot in the season where, he's starting to develop that rhythm and it's working out just fine, man. It's working out great.
You know what Aaron Wiggins is shooting in the last 5 games?
I want to say like 38, 39%, like nothing too crazy.
I'm going to double check my stats because Basketball Reference crashed on me. But if my numbers are correct, it's kind of wild. First of all, I'll preface this by saying he's shooting 39% from 3 on the season on almost 5 attempts a game.
God, why does it not feel like that?
It doesn't feel like that, like at all. But he absolutely is. Let me see. Okay, yeah. No, I did awful math. Okay, yeah. So he's shooting 39.3% right now in the last 5 games. So not quite 60% like Isaiah Joe, but being steady on that end, and even more so than Isaiah Joe, Aaron Wiggins gives you more scoring in transition, rim pressure in the half court. Yeah, absolutely. So he's been great as well in that regard. And Alex, the last guy that I had to talk about, and you talk about, again with Aaron Wiggins about how he's been in the starting line the past few weeks. They tried to have Queso as that like sub starter, and I think that's been the case like the past 2 years. Anytime somebody missed, Queso would be the starter. And Queso's been fine, but like it feels like this year specifically, our offense has struggled like really early on to get going, and our starting lineup has been very defensive slanted. So putting Wiggins in that lineup, and it gives him more rain, gives him more rope to kind of get his game off, but also it gives you dimensionality on the offensive end as well, as a guy that another guy that's a jack of all trades, and I feel like he's more of like a jack of all trades without an elite skill. As opposed to like Isaiah Joe, but like Aaron Wiggins is legitimately like good at everything. He's not a guy that again is like elite at one thing, but he's a guy that can give you effort. He can give you defense. He can give you rim pressure. He can give you shooting. He can give you ball handling if you need to. Like he's a really solid player, and he's been great for us recently. Shout out D's Laughs says, "What up, chat?"
I mean, damn, I'm here too. What up, D's Laughs?
Chat. Like, the chat.
Oh, okay.
Oh, you changed your name. I was about to say we were both Thunder chats earlier.
Yeah, I know.
So. I was like, he was talking to both of us. The last guy that I was going to bring up is AJ Mitchell. Honestly, was like, I don't want to say I was disappointed, but I was kind of confused by his performance in this game, especially with Dub being out and, like the offensive load obviously needed to be spread out. And I think we all knew and expected Chet to take on more of a load, and he did. He was great, and it was awesome. And, Wiggs, shout out Leone saying, and Wiggs says basketball. Absolutely did, even on the offensive end. But I really thought this was an opportunity for AJ Mitchell to just, like, have another coming out party, like one of those games where he goes off, gets like 20 points and like 6 or 7 assists. Had to do it. Sorry. Something like that. But no, in this game, he only shot 5 times, and like, it didn't really feel like he even tried to get a shot off. He finished with 5 points, but what I will say is he was really good at facilitating. He led the team with 9 assists, and obviously he had like a 10 assist game early on in the year. So I think this is like second highest game in terms of assists. But I don't know, man. It was just weird. But obviously he was good and he was impactful. But I expected more, specifically offensively, out of AJ Mitchell with the absence of Jalen Williams.
So I've been so the last 2 times I've been on this podcast. So Jerry besmirched the name of AJ Mitchell.
I'm not besmirching.
Now you are besmirching. Like, here's the thing. Like AJ Mitchell, I think this game kind of showed his maturity in that, as a floor general, as somebody that, is an attacking type point guard, and you read what the defense gives you. And so in this game, the shot making wasn't necessarily needed as far as, as much as the playmaking was needed. If your teammates are hot, if your teammates are hitting from the perimeter, and you know what? As a table setter, you got to do what you got to do, and you got to feed them. You got to continuously feed them and build that confidence, build that energy. The ball has energy, and if you try to take that energy and use it for yourself, sometimes you can kind of disrupt the offense. And so I think as a playmaker and as a young player, I think this kind of showed a maturity of AJ Mitchell as far as like, seeing what the game is telling him to do and kind of doing that instead of like forcing the issue. And let's say like, trying to get like a double digit night, scoring as far as like, continuing that little streak going or whatever, he has going. Like he went out there, he saw what the defense was doing. He saw what his teammates were doing, sprayed the ball out, got 9 assists, three turnovers, I think, 5 points, but efficient, 2 of 5. And didn't really need him to step up and score too much. So I think he did what he needed to do. And I think that shows a sign of maturity as a point guard on this team.
Yeah, I'm probably just salty because I had him for 15 in a parlay. So couldn't at least get 10. Like, I mean, it still wouldn't hit my parlay, but come on, man. I mean, he was fine. I mean, like you said, with the other guys hitting shots, like he didn't have to take as many shots. And maybe that's just it. Maybe it was just by the lack of necessity, for that. But either way, like he's definitely like. I'm not besmirching the name of AJ Mitchell. Like, let's get that clear. Like, anytime I've been on this podcast, I've said that I think it's absurd he's not the front runner for 6th man of the year at this point. Yeah. And it feels like he's starting to trend more that way. I've seen a lot of people kind of put him at least in the top 3. FanDuel, I don't think, was reflecting that the last time I looked. But I'll kind of look at that during the break and we can talk about it. But I absolutely think he should be 6th man of the year. Like, he's the prototypical, like stereotypical, like 6-man type player, like the guard off the bench that does some facilitating and can also like get points on your own. And also he's a guy that's going to close games. Like he's going to be in there in the closing lineups because what he does for us, not only offensively, but defensively. He's a guy that competes and is like impactful defensively. Like I think he still leads the league in defensive field goal percentage in terms of like, guys getting shots up against him. It's not going to work out well for you. So don't ever let it be said Dylan Huntsinger Thunder Chats besmirched the name of AJ Mitchell. It didn't happen. But
got to protect my guy from Belgian Waffle University, man.
I mean, hey, I'm right there with you. I did think it was great that as soon as we started putting our subs in, Ousmane Dieng and Chris Youngblood just
they were on fire. They were street sweeping everything, man. Like Youngblood was what 2 of 2 or 2 or 3 from 3.
He was 2 of 2. It was 1 of 3, but the one he made was cold.
yeah. I love it, man. I love to see that whenever like. We take like a 22-point lead, and then those guys come in and they balloon it up to like 30, 32 points. Like, that's beautiful right there. Give me that every day.
No, absolutely. That's a testament to the depth. And, it is interesting. Obviously we saw JWill, is going to be questionable for the Bucks game. And, this is a team that's already struggling rebounding. So going up against Giannis, not ideal. But obviously we're going to be shorthanded. Brandon Carlson, I think it was a street close for this game. Brooks Barnheiser hasn't been like on the bench in a while. It feels like a time when Brandon Carlson and Brooks Barnheiser might dress out for this game.
Yeah, I mean Brooks has been tearing it up in the G League here lately. Like a couple 24-point games, 30-point games here and there.
And near triple-double last game, I think. So
yeah, I'm hoping that starts to translate. I think he struggled a little bit as far as like the speed of the game and finding his little niche on offense on this team. But, that's what the G League is designed to do. And if you go out into the G League and you're dominating the G League, like that just kind of, it helps to kind of transition you to the NBA game. Not saying that Brooks is going to dominate the NBA game, not at all. But if you can go out there and you can know what you have to do, and you could, kind of take what you've been doing in the G League and move it up into the NBA and do it on a probably a smaller level, a lower level, then that's what you want. You want Brooks to be your 15th guy out there. Like, you don't necessarily need him. But in this time where we have a lot of injuries, being able to spell an Isaiah Joe, an AJ Mitchell, a Shea, a Lou Dort, a couple minutes here and there is extremely valuable to, moving on from here. And so hopefully they do bring him up. I think they may probably wait until they get back home to actually do that. Cause I think,
Fair.
I think they actually played a game today and they lost to the Spurs, to the Austin Spurs. So hopefully they bring him in, during this time, and hopefully they start to play and catch a rhythm also, and translate it from the G League to the NBA.
Yeah, no, for sure. And we only asking the question, what's the plan for the Bucks next man up? Like, if you're talking starting lineup, I think obviously Shea, Dort, now Wiggins and Chet, like they're givens. I think if you're subbing somebody in for that last starter job with assuming JWill is out, I think it's Caruso Williams, man. Like, I think that he's our most physical player that we have like left. Like, Carlson obviously gives you more size, but I don't think he's a guy that's going to be a physical player. I could see this being one of those games where Caruso Williams guards Giannis and just like pisses him off the entire game with just how annoying he is. Still going to get his, probably still going to have like 20 and 20 against us, but just frustrating him and making it more difficult than it normally would be is really all we need from him. So I would like to see Caruso Williams start in this game. Yeah.
So both Barnhizer and Carlson didn't play tonight, in the G League game. So hopefully they are on a plane up to Milwaukee and are able to play tomorrow. So I definitely think that Kenny Hustle, if JWill is not able to play, I think Kenny Hustle is going to be the guy that's in there. It could be Lou Dort, and I know Lou Dort is very short as far as like compared to Giannis, but he's able to give you that physicality that a lot of other players aren't able to against Giannis. But yeah, this would definitely be a game where like somebody like Dub would have worked out perfectly to guard him, but. It is what it is.
Or Caruso.
Or Hardenstein. Like Giannis is one of those players where you throw players of different sizes at him and see which one works for that night. So
build a freaking wall, man. Yeah. Now I will say Giannis has been like a much better playmaker this season. And to the Bucks' credit, they've had guys that can, knock down shots. Like, I was watching the game the other day. I think it was against the Hawks, in which the Hawks were down like 20-something points and they battled all the way back to the end. And they were going shot for shot at the end. And it was like Giannis sprayed AJ Green. Giannis sprayed Bobby Portis. Like, Jalen Johnson would answer with a three. Nikhil would answer with a three. It was a really crazy game. But yeah, like they've got some shot makers, and it'll be interesting to see how the Thunder do in terms of like closing out on those 3-point shooters, because that is still a weakness of this team. Rebounding is still a weakness of this team, with all the injuries that we've had. So it's going to be a real like rubber meets the road in terms of like this matchup against the Bucks, which trying to see. Well, my mouse just was like, nope, don't want to work for you. So on FanDuel, it says we are favored by 9.5, despite the injuries and everything on our team. So, we'll see how that goes. But for now, we're going to go ahead and take a break. We come back on the other side of this podcast. I'm going to ask Alex a question about team building with the trade deadline approaching after word from our sponsors. All right. And we are here with the word from our sponsors, FanDuel, not anybody else, not any other sports book. We are with the FanDuel Sportsbook Network right now. And, as I mentioned, Oklahoma City Thunder are currently favored against Milwaukee Bucks at -9.5. Alex, do you like those odds for the Thunder to cover, given all the injuries that we have?
I would probably take the what's it called? Like the over? Or so what, like in between there, like I think they're gonna win by like but a smaller margin of victory.
Oh, so you do like an alt spread.
Sure, why not?
Yeah, so like you can actually do an alternate spread on FanDuel. I don't think it's available right now because you'd have to do it tomorrow, but you can go in and change the line to like what do you think the Thunder win by tomorrow, Alex?
I mean, I'd give me 6. I mean, if anything.
Okay, so you would go in there, you go to the alt spread, and you would find like -5.5. Mm-hmm. Right now, this -9.5 is like -114. If you take it down to -5.5, it'd probably bump it up to like +530, +600 something maybe, but much safer bet, like you were saying. So that is something you could do. Also, as I was saying earlier in the podcast, I was going to look up the award odds for Sixth Man of the Year because it feels like the conversation is shifting a lot more towards 3 guys, those 3 being Naz Reid of the Timberwolves, Keldon Johnson of the Spurs, and AJ Mitchell of the San Antonio Spurs. And I just want to see the betting lines reflect that. So Keldon is the favorite right now, +300. Naz Reid's right behind him at +300. And friggin' Jaime Jaquez is still right there. This is crazy to me. There's Jaime Jaquez, Reed Shepherd, Anthony Simons, and Anthony Black all over AJ Mitchell.
What?
Yeah. Which at this point, Anthony Black might just be a starter. The way that he's been playing, even with Franz back, like I think I would find a way to get that guy back in my starting lineup more often. Anthony Simons, I mean, he's been fine. He's been on a tear like this past month, but you talk about like, the span of the regular season, like, what we've seen out of AJ Mitchell, I still prefer him. Jaime, I can see. Reed, I think is laughable.
I know, man. I'm like he has like 1 or 2 like good shooting games, and then like he goes through a run of games where he gets completely taken out because defensively he can't stay on the floor, and so don't understand how they can have him on there ahead of AJ Mitchell.
Yeah, and I love Reed. Like obviously, like I still think he's a great player. I still think he's going to be good in this league for a long time. But like at this stage of his career. And what the Rockets are asking him to do, I don't think that he's executing what he needs to do as well as AJ Mitchell is executing what he needs to do. So I do think that's wild. So, hey, maybe this is a chance to get some value, man. Maybe this is a chance to go to FanDuel, place a wager on AJ Mitchell and Sixth Man of the Year, +1,600. So, Alex, once again, 1,600. You put $10 down. What do you get?
160.
Let's go. We've turned him into a degenerate, ladies and gentlemen. Also, while we're here, Chet is the Defensive Player of the Year favorite at -135. To have minus odds at, on a defensive award or on an award in general, pretty impressive and pretty, speaks pretty loudly. Wemby's actually +750. He's number 3 behind behind Rudy Gobert. And as Michelle Beadle pointed out on the Run It Back show today, Wemby's still eligible at this point. Like he hasn't missed the threshold of games to where he would not be eligible for awards. So I don't know if this is FanDuel and the sportsbook projecting Wemby to miss more time, or if this is people like actually paying attention and like, yeah, Wemby could be a louder defensive player, but in terms of like what you are doing on the court, in terms of like anticipation, in terms of like, basketball IQ, defensive IQ, maybe Chet has the leg up on that. So it'll be interesting to see how that plays out. And the last one is, of course, this is a shoe-in. Shea to win MVP, -350. At this point, dude, Jokic isn't even in the top 6. Oh, no, Jokic isn't even like in the top 10, brother.
Really?
It's got Shea, Luka number 2. Can you guess number 3?
Anthony Edwards.
No, he's number 5.
Wemby.
He is also not on here. Eastern Conference.
Giannis?
No, he's
Jaylen Brown. Jaylen Brown.
Number 4.
Who?
You're missing.
Cade Cunningham.
Cade Cunningham, number 3. Oklahoma State's own. Now, Tyrese Maxey's 6, Brunson 7, Mitchell is 8, Kawhi is 9, and Curry is 10.
You see that? You see Kawhi's out?
I did. They sent him back home.
And he's going to be out for a little bit?
Maybe things can swing back in our favor into that draft book.
Hey, man, give me that potential number 1 pick again in my veins, man. It was fun while we had it.
They struggled to put away the Wizards last night, but they did. They still won. So, they continue to be extremely hot like this past month. So that's not fun for us. But, hey, you can bet on all this and more on FanDuel Sportsbook. Now let's get back to the show. Alex, we talked about the Cavs game. We talked about the injuries. My only gripe with the Heat game is that Shea didn't touch the ball in like the last 3 minutes and 30 seconds. I just think that's asinine, especially with Jalen Williams out of the lineup. We can talk about it another time, but like that just can't happen.
And when he did touch it, the botched offensive foul call. Like, come on, man.
Mm-hmm.
Like that referee.
Yeah. I didn't mean to say he didn't touch the ball. He didn't get a shot up in the last 30.
That referee is one of those referees that got influenced by all the bullshit that's on, all the narrative that's on Twitter and stuff like that.
Yeah. It's very annoying. But yeah, anyways, so we talked about all that. But Alex, talking about the injuries, talking about taking into account the Thunder's record without Dub, taking into account the Thunder's record now, as it stands in the league, and taking into account kind of the arms race that's about to happen with the trade deadline, with all the people that are available. It really feels like, they say it every year. It feels like this is actually going to be a pretty active deadline because so many people are trying to, for lack of a better term, come to the level of the Thunder. And maybe they see some of these injuries as an opportunity, to bolster the lineup to get good enough to, kind of compete with the Thunder. But I don't know, man. How do you feel about the trade landscape for the Thunder, given the injuries? Do you feel like this makes it more likely that we make a move, or do you think that this is just going to be a Sam Presti, stand pat, or, just acquire, a draft pick or offload a contract or something?
So I think the thing is, I think the Gordon Hayward experience kind of soured the organization, especially when you have continuity. It kind of soured the organization to looking for an impact player at the deadline. Like you could possibly get yourself like a fourth big, like you could possibly get something like that. But to bring in a Trey Murphy, to bring in, a Giannis, let's say, like to do that, you're going to have to go ahead and number one, trade a couple of your pieces. And so you mess up that continuity, you mess up that chemistry, and then you bring in somebody in that is brand new to the team, has to adapt to the ethos, the defensive ethos, the offensive ethos. And so that takes time. That's why I think those types of moves, I think this offseason is going to be an offseason that's going to hurt a lot of Thunder fans. But I think this trade deadline is going to be extremely quiet. I think you may possibly see like a ooze for salary dump. Yeah, I know, ooze salary dump, and then, open up a spot and, maybe put BC in there for big man insurance just in case, iHeart or something like that get hurt. But I when you talk about team building, you talk about like we have our team. This team has won a championship already. This team is a little bit injured. They're a little bit battered, yeah. And the team is doing everything they can to make sure that, those injuries are however small, they give them enough time to go ahead and rest up, come back into the fold healthy. And we have time. We have 3 months left in the season. So we have plenty of time to bring those players back. And so I think just like last season, I think the move that we're going to get where we introduce a player back into the fold is going to be last season. It was Chet coming back into the fold. This season is going to be Dub coming back into the fold. Yeah. And so, I think this team is just seeing a reoccurrence of what happened last year. and they know that this team can fight through it. As long as you have Shea out there, nothing else matters. If you have Shea plus Chet, Shea plus Dub, we've seen that if you have enough rotational pieces around them, this is a 60-win team just getting out of bed, with Shea out there. And so as far as doing anything drastic, I don't see this team doing anything drastic. With that said, Presti could listen to this podcast and be like, you know what? I'm going to go ahead and trade Lou and something else for Nah or something like that. Like, it could happen, but I don't think Presti would do that because of the experience with Gordon Hayward and how that kind of like messed up the chemistry a little bit. And we brought in this guy and we were like, hey, this guy, he's going to go ahead and, be the guy that we wanted to be, that corner 3 guy, to be out there. And he wasn't that, and he didn't want to play. And so, I think because of that experience and because we have continuity and we have a team that's already won and they're all, still here, I think we keep this team pretty much, the same as it is right now.
Yeah, I think that's the boring answer, obviously, but I do think it's the most likely. Like, just given what Presti has done in the past, like it feels like he probably sees these injuries as an opportunity, for guys to step up, in a different role to kind of get more, more action. Like AJ Mitchell specifically, like. Yeah. Didn't really do much, so the Cavs game, but probably feels like an opportunity for him to step up and try to be like that tertiary player, that complimentary like scorer, playmaker next to Shea, next to Chet, off the bench. Really step into that role and kind of see what he could do, like stretch his wings. Like maybe this is an opportunity for Case Wallace to do more off the ball, like they were grooming him to do last year, but now that we have so many ball handlers, he doesn't really get that opportunity anymore. Like, there's a lot of ways for this to play in the Thunder's favor. But with that being said, I think the most fun outcome, and obviously, like, I think it would still be really good for us if we did make a move. Like, I think the thing with the Gordon Hayward is, and, Presti's talked about, like, that was a lesson learned about, like, making an in-season trade. And he specifically talked about chemistry. And I don't think that just making a trade is going to F up the chemistry. Like, I think Gordon Hayward was a special case. I said F, like, hush. I think Gordon Hayward's a special case. Like, Alex Caruso's an unk, but, like, he's not an unk like Gordon Hayward. Like, Gordon Hayward was kind of like boring unk. Like, he was the guy that was like, he had 1 foot out of the league at that point anyways. Like, he didn't sign another contract after, his contract ended with the Thunder. I just feel like I think that was more the difficulty than anything. Like, even Caruso, like, he's an unk, but they had the entire offseason to, like, integrate him into the team, like to get to know him, to, add him to the group chats and do all these things. Like, I do think there's complications with making in-season trades, but I think if you made a trade for a younger guy, like a Trey Murphy, like an Iota Sumu, like a Kobe White, like an Aaron Nesmith, like some of these guys that we've talked about the past couple of weeks, I don't think it would be as hard to integrate them into the team because these are these guys' peers. Like, these are guys that on the Thunder have grown up playing against in the AAU circuit for years, have played against in the league for years. Like, they know these guys outside of basketball. Like, I think it would be a lot easier than the Gordon Hayward situation, which, by the way, I was playing a game with Conan Dolan on Friday, and we had to do like a triple tiebreaker because, they're just like great gamers. I had Cone pick any random Thunder year, and he picked 2024, and I did 3-point shooting, and I was like, you have to name the top 5 3-point shooters. Do you know what Gordon Hayward shot from 3 in his, like, 30 games for the Thunder?
Like 10%.
No. It was like 50%.
Seriously?
Yeah, I got to pull it up.
But he averaged, like, 0.7 threes a game.
I think it was like 1 point something, but yeah, here, let me pull it up here. Yeah, he shot 51.7% on 1.1 attempt a game.
That guy gets on my freaking nerves. Like, get out of here.
It's
like this was the perfect team to have a resurgence. And look, if you were going to retire after that year, okay, retire after that year. But you went to Butler. You were one miracle shot away from winning the national championship there. Like, you went to Utah. You were the guy at Utah. You did great. You brought him to the playoffs. You go over to Boston. There's championship aspirations there. You mess up your ankle. Your game is never the same after that, as far as like being a top tier guy in the league. And so this is your final opportunity to go ahead and kind of like, hey, this is my final chance to probably, maybe get a championship, because the Thunder, even though they were extremely young, they were the number 1 seed, and they needed that somebody that could hit an outside shot to give Shea, to give Dub, to give young Chet, a release valve and somebody that the defense would have to pay attention to. And his insistence not to shoot at all in the playoffs, like, come on, man, like, get out of here with that. Like, don't bring no effort into this conversation at all. Like, that's the one thing I hate about him, is that he brought no effort into it, and he just wanted to go home, take his ball, and go home. Like, nah, man, you're a professional. That was not a professional move.
Yeah, and I'm trying to pull up his stats, because we talk about why it should have worked, and like, he wasn't washed, even though he wasn't like the elite guy that he was. Like, he still should have worked with this team.
I mean, you literally put out an article on OKCTopicThunder.com, and you basically said on there, hey, you see that white guy shooting that 3-pointer that's giddy right now? Hey, replace him with Gordon Hayward, and that shot probably goes in. And it's like, no, he didn't even want to shoot those freaking shots.
Nah, and like, I'm looking at a side by side right now, and I can even share the screen. That's probably more helpful. But this is a side by side of Gordon Hayward and Kevin Martin's seasons with the Thunder. Like, he was giving Kevin Martin stats, and like, I talk about all the time about how Kevin Martin was like a good player for the Thunder. He and obviously he was like, tempering that so he didn't have to go to the All-Star game.
Yeah, that's another guy.
But he was still a really effective player. Like, the year after we traded James Harden, we probably could have won the championship that year if not for the Russell Westbrook injury. And Kevin Martin was a big reason why. Like, he was like a perfect complement to Russell Westbrook, Kevin Durant. But Gordon Hayward, again, like, for all the reasons I pointed out in the article, like his off-ball defense, his cutting, his spot-up shooting, his playmaking, like, I mean, look at, like, he was a better playmaker, better scorer, better rebounder. Like, this was the season before, he got traded to the Thunder. His three-point shooting was down, but I think if you look at the 24 season, yeah, he was shooting 41.1% in the 2024 season, which is when, we acquired him. So It absolutely should have worked. The only reason it didn't work is because Gordon Hayward.
Exactly. And I mean, here's the thing. It's so kind of just like continuing on with this team building thing. There's one thing that the Thunder don't want to do this season, and that's go into the tax. And so we are about $1 million away from the tax. And so any move that we make, we have to take that into consideration. And so if you're talking about somebody like just trading Ooze, like, you can trade Ooze he's making $6.6 million. You could probably trade him for a player making $9 million, but the Thunder aren't going to do that because they don't want to put themselves in a position to where they have to pay the tax this year. And so that's another thing when it comes to like trades and things like that. Like, the Thunder aren't keen on paying the tax this year. They want to push that out for one more season. They're going to pay the tax next year. That is 100% given. But they want that clock to start on paying the tax next season so that you have those, 2 out of 3 seasons to where, you have to start paying the penalties and all that. That comes into play later on in the, in the future, not now. So yeah, it's boring. I know it's boring. It's not fun. It's not exciting, but The fun and exciting part happens in June.
You're talking about the ooze, trading ooze and like his financial implications. Let me see here. Just pulled up on Fanspo here. Ooze for Io DeSumo works out money wise.
Hey.
And obviously, you can. I don't think he cost that much. You could probably throw like a pick at the Bulls and be able to get him with ooze and a pick. And
I think you are straddling that line big time right there.
What, like tax wise?
I don't think it's $1 million like on the dot. Like I think it's like 800,000.
Oh yeah, I think it even says it's like. Let me see here. Team will be over the cap after these moves. Oh, we're up like 847,000.
Yeah, exactly.
So, yeah, I mean, it just depends, if the Thunder feel like they need to make a move, like if they feel like they have to make one of these moves in order to win the title, they're going to pay the tax to do so. Like, we've seen that. There's history of that, but as you said, and as I feel like is probably more the case, Presti probably doesn't feel that way. So I expect a quiet trade deadline, but that will not stop me from recording my Presti Can I song that I have spent a few minutes writing down. So it's going to be a good time. I will be begging for a trade from Sam Presti with the words of Ray J, and that's all I got to say about that.
Okay. Just as long as you don't make a video with Ray J, we'll be just fine.
No. Just I don't even think I'm gonna make a video now. I think I'm just gonna put Presti's face on the thing and put the song up. So no. Thanks for listening to our podcast. Anyways.
Hey, Dylan Brooks, two-way. I mean, Dylan Jones, two-way deal with the Knicks. Hey, man, I'm glad he's back in the NBA. He has a very unique skill set, and I think that on the right team, it works out just fine. Too bad it's on the Knicks, who are imploding currently. But hey, he's on a roster.
Imploding, but currently third in the Eastern Conference. So that tells you how things are in the East.
Yeah. Oh my God, it's a dumpster fire over there.
But yeah, Alex, I mean, hey, let's end the podcast doing something that was a lot more fun, about a week or a month or so ago. Let's go to Tankathon. Let's do a couple spins. Okay, see what we can end up with.
Let's depress ourselves.
See if we can get lucky, man. I don't know. Back up a little bit so we can see, because we need to see a little bit. We need to see a little bit more.
We'll do 5. We'll do 5 spins, baby.
All right, bet. Let's do it, bro. I still got to back up. All these ads I'm taking on.
Wow. Okay.
Too small. All right, we need a magnifying glass. All right, here we go. OKC jumps to 4.
I'm down.
It's not one of the big 3 guys, but Caleb Wilson type guy. Be cool. Okay. Stays put at 11.
All right.
Oh, jumps to 3. There we go. You get whoever's left of AJ Dubbanza, Darren Peterson, and Cameron Boozer. And, I mean, let's look at it. I mean, Washington, what do you think? They probably take Dubbanza, right?
No, Darren Peterson.
Really?
I mean, who do they have at guard?
Yeah, I guess they do have what?
I mean, they have Trey Johnson, but he hasn't been
Trey Johnson
too promising this season, so.
Yeah,
you take the Hawks. You take Darren Peterson. And then the Hawks, they would probably take Jalen Johnson. So they probably take Cam Boozer.
Yeah. And AJ Dubbanza coming to the Thunder. Face. All right. And that we actually dropped to 12. That would be devastating. But we do get the Jazz pick.
We do get the Utah pick. Hey.
Yeah. So that's cool. With the Philly pick. So, hey, we get 3 top 18 picks. Mm-hmm. Not bad. Maybe you could package some of those up, move up a little bit if you want to.
Maybe.
All right, let's try 4. Yeah, we got 9 and 11.
Hey, 18. That's not bad.
Again, not bad. I mean, it's the same thing. Just, we have 11 instead of 12.
I mean, look, here's the thing, man. Like that Utah pick, it's still in play. Like it baffles my mind that Utah has let it get to this point where they're number 6 and you have a couple teams jump, which they usually tend to do, and they jump ahead of you and you're down to 9 and that pick goes OKC's way. Like, yeah, awesome.
And that's the thing too. Like Utah is, I've said it a million times, they're much better than their record shows. Like,
yeah,
whenever Keontae George and Larry Markkinen are playing, they can beat any team in the league.
Mm-hmm.
Not 7-game series, but any given Sunday. All right, and we stay to 11 and 18. And one more time, just for fun. I know you said 5, but we're going to do a bonus one.
You're gonna keep on
keep going until it jumps again. Oh, I saw the Spurs, bro. If the Spurs got number 1 pick again, I would ram my head through the wall.
I would punch air. Well, man, you spent all your good luck in those first couple of ones. Hopefully it works out.
Oh, there we go.
Oh, there we go. 3. There we go.
Hey, 3.
AJ DeBenson.
Yeah, that's probably.
Hey, number 3 again.
There you go. See, it happened 3 times in like 20-something spins. So you're telling me there's a chance.
Yeah, so you're telling me there's a chance. That's all we want in this game is a chance. That's it.
Absolutely. So with that being said, go ahead and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Subscribe to our podcast anywhere you listen to podcast. Leave us a 5-star rating anywhere you listen to podcasts. We'd appreciate that. And a positive review. That would make us smile. Go ahead and hit the notification bell so you don't miss out when we go live. Like this video. Leave a comment down below if you think the Thunder should make a trade and who they should trade for. That being said, we will be back on Friday. I think the Thunder play the Don't tell me. God dang it, Alex. You told me. We'll be talking about the Bucks and the Pacers game. Hopefully talking about 2 W's and getting back on the winning side of things, starting another win streak for the Oklahoma City Thunder. But until then, hope everybody has a great night. God bless. Hoop when you can. And as always, Thunder up.